It's time to take intelligent design seriously. Why do I say that? Well, I came across this book recently, Foresight: How the Chemistry of Life Reveals Planning and Purpose, by Professor Marcos Eberlin. He's a professor of biochemistry in Brazil. And one of the things that really struck me about this book was the recommendations and endorsements. There are three Nobel Prize winners. For example, Sir John B. Goulden, who is an English biologist who won the Nobel Prize in Biology in 2012, wrote about this book: I am happy to recommend this to those involved in the chemistry of life. The author is well established in the field of chemistry and presents the current interest in biology in the context of chemistry. I am happy to recommend the work. This is a Nobel Prize winner in biology recommending a book on intelligent design, defending intelligent design. Another Nobel Prize winner in physics, an interesting study of the part played by foresight in biology. Now, you may think that's very lukewarm, an interesting study of the part played by foresight in biology. This is Brian David Josephson, Nobel Prize in Physics from the University of Cambridge, as is Gordon. He's also from the University of Cambridge. But hang on, if you look at the Wikipedia site on intelligent design, it's full of dismissals of ID as a pseudo-creationist ideology. It has no scientific credibility at all, you would think. But there's two Nobel Prize winners in physics and chemistry speaking highly of this book. How can this be? There are pages of endorsements and recommendations by leading scientists around the world. And the last one, a chap called Michael D. Bowers, who is a distinguished professor of biochemistry at the University of California, Santa Barbara, says about the book: Foresight provides refreshing new evidence, primarily from biology, that science needs to open its perspective on the origin of living things to account for the possibility that purely natural materialist evolution cannot account for these facts. The book is written in an easy-to-read style that will be appreciated by scientists and non-scientists alike, and encourages the reader to follow the truth wherever it leads, as Socrates advised long ago. So a ringing endorsement from the distinguished professor of biochemistry at the University of California. And there are pages of recommendations. So this book's published by the Discovery Institute, which is a leading intelligence design institution in the United States. I must confess I disagree with that last recommendation a little bit. This is not easy to read. I'm not a scientist. I have no scientific training whatsoever. And I found a lot of this beyond my pay grade. I couldn't understand it. It gets quite technical for me. There are plenty of passages which are understandable in ordinary everyday language. So I haven't read the whole book because I can't. But the recommendations are clear. And I just wanted to share with you a few bits of the book which I do understand, which gives you a flavour of the thesis. And the key concept of this book is summed up in one word: foresight. So what is foresight, and why is it such an amazing intelligent design discovery? So in the very first chapter, Foresight in Life, the author tells us, biology is in the midst of a gold rush of discovery. At my previous academic institution, the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil, I ran the mass spectrometry laboratory for 25 years. There, my team and I delved into many areas of chemistry, biochemistry, and medical science that until recently were still too new to have names. Everything from petriomics, lipidomics, mass spectrometry, imaging, to petriomics and bacteria fingerprinting. I probably mispronounced a few words there. Some of the new discoveries, yield new medicines or medical techniques, such as the abundantly awarded cancer pen recently developed by my daughter Livia. Others give engineers new ideas for inventions in the burgeoning field of biometrics. Still others have no immediate practical application. They're just revelations of beautiful biological ingenuity, scientific discovery for its own sake. All of this new knowledge is exhilarating in its own right. At the same time, I am now convinced that many of these discoveries taken together point beyond themselves to something even more extraordinary. This new age of discovery is revealing a myriad of artful solutions to major engineering challenges, solutions that for all the world appear to require something that matter alone lacks. I will put this as plainly as I can. This rush of discovery seems to point beyond a purely blind evolutionary process to the workings of an attribute unique to minds, foresight. Yes, I know, he says. We've been told that it's out of bounds for science to go there. We will take up that claim in subsequent chapters. But regardless of where you ultimately land on the question of what conclusions science should or shouldn't allow, and whether or not you ultimately affirm that this gold rush of new evidence points to the workings of foresight, I urge you to inspect the evidence. Curiosity may have killed the cat, but it's done wonders for the scientific enterprise. The many and ingenious examples uncovered in recent years are so numerous that they could fill many large volumes. The pages that follow highlight only a small fraction of the total, but that fraction is filled with marvels. We'll look at everything from insect gears and power-punching shrimp to carnivorous plants and a protein machine in the eye that may harvest quantum entanglement, allowing birds to see Earth's magnetic field. So this book is full of these extraordinary examples. I will put a link in the description below to something I discovered as a layman, and these are called molecular machines. These are incredible pieces of high-tech machinery that exist in biology within the cells, building blocks of cells, and you can actually see them now. And these look all the world to me like highly sophisticated marvels of engineering that are supposedly the random blind products of materialist chance. That I don't think they are at all. They certainly don't appear like that to me. So let me just mention the beginning of a few chapters, just the preamble, which I find quite interesting. The Code of Life, Chapter 3. The cell has its own sophisticated information processing system, much like a computer. Computer programs require programmers, conscious agents with knowledge and foresight who can code the needed instructions in the right sequence to generate a functioning and information-rich program. Is there any reason to think that the information in cells also was programmed by a programmer rather than random processes? Let's delve into the details and consider our options. And then he talks about foresight in DNA, the cell's genetic information. So that's a very interesting chapter, which I managed a little bit of. And then in chapter 6, a case study in foresight, birds. The living world manifests numerous engineering solutions combined with ingenious chemistry far beyond the reach of unguided evolutionary mechanisms. So Darwinism here just fails to account for the extraordinary complexity and foresight we see everywhere in nature. And this is something we've only discovered recently because of technological advance. A particularly striking example, birds. There are many aspects of bird biochemistry and architecture we could focus on, suggestive of foresight, planning, and marvellous ingenuity. Here we will focus on just two aspects, bird navigation and bird reproduction. And then he talks about the bird's GPS system. So this is where birds can travel incredible distances with changing landscapes without getting lost. They have their own built-in GPS system, which is an incredibly sophisticated piece of technology. So he discusses that in chapter 6. And then in chapter 9, this will be the last thing I read, I think, he talks about the future of science, foresight and the future of science. Time for a quick recap, and then let's step back and consider the implications of the evidence in these pages for the future of science. The development of a chick embryo is a wonder to behold, and you can actually behold it because scientists have filmed the process. But no less a wonder than the developing embryo is the egg in which it develops. The egg yolk and egg white contain all the food a chick will need before it hatches. The eggshell also contains microscopic pores that let air in so the chick can breathe. I didn't know that. The developing bird then generates a network of capillaries to absorb oxygen from the air and release carbon dioxide. Just before hatching, special membranes in the egg trap enough air so the full-grown chick can take its first breath before it leaves the shell. The eggshell is hard enough to protect the developing chick, yet fragile enough for the full-grown chick to peck its way out. Indeed, the egg's contents and shell are masterpieces of engineering that both nourish and protect the baby bird. But there will be no egg without a chicken to produce it. Without an egg, there can be no chicken. But without a chicken, there can be no egg. It's the original chicken and egg problem, the archetypal example of a most curious causal circularity. To get A, we need B, but to get B, we first need A. We can't have one without the other. To get both together, we need foresight. So we find examples of this causal circularity, and thus the need for foresight, throughout living systems. As we have seen, living cells need membranes. No membranes, no life. And not just no membranes, but membranes with a myriad of, and then he goes into a complex scientific explanation. Basically, you need foresight to get the whole process going. Yep, so there we go. I do recommend this book if you're interested in intelligent design. And I think it is the future of science because new scientific discoveries all the time, I think, are undermining and subverting the old materialist paradigm. And we need a paradigm shift that opens up our worldview, not just in science, but in philosophy, which is more my area as well, in the philosophy of mind, to allow for consciousness, basically. I'm an idealist. I believe that ultimately consciousness is the fundamental reality. And from consciousness, we get the physical world that we see around us. I'll leave a link to the book below, and I do recommend you watch the video on these biological machines. They're most extraordinary. They certainly opened up my mind when I first came across them a year or two ago. Until next time.